The courtroom sat in quiet routine until a frail man in a worn-out army jacket stepped forward. His clothes looked 2 sizes too big. His boots were cracked from years of sleeping on concrete. And under that coat, something heavy seemed tucked close to his chest. The moment he approached the bench, a hush fell across the room. A slow zoom would catch the trembling in his hands and the exhaustion in his eyes. Eyes that once scanned battlefields, now begging the world for mercy. The clerk read his name. Michael Turner, U.S. Army veteran. A few people in the back looked up. Even the officers shifted uneasily. Judge Caprio leaned forward, gentle, curious, compassionate. His signature soft smile appeared for a moment, then faded when he noticed the weight in Michael's steps. Judge Caprio, good morning. Michael, you okay walking up here? Michael nodded, but his voice cracked. Why, yes, Your Honor. The entire room could feel something wasn't right. His citation was small, barely $100 fine. But the man looked like he was carrying the weight of the world, and maybe something more. A slow cutaway to Michael's coat. A subtle bulge. People whispering. The tension rising. Judge Caprio noticed it too. Just for a second, his eyebrows lifting, his voice softening even further. Judge Caprio. Michael, before we begin, is there anything you want to tell me? Michael's eyes filled with tears. He clutched his coat tighter, as if protecting something inside it. And then, he took a step closer to the bench. The courtroom froze. The judge waited, calm, patient, compassionate. But everyone else held their breath. Because nobody knew what Michael Turner, a homeless veteran with nothing left, was hiding under that coat. The next moment would shock the entire courtroom. The courtroom moved in its usual rhythm. Papers shuffling, soft murmurs echoing, officers standing firm by the walls. But when Michael Turner stepped forward, everything seemed to slow. His presence carried a quiet heaviness, the kind that wasn't loud, but lingered in the air like a forgotten memory. His coat, faded and oversized, wrapped around him like a shield. His boots were worn to the bone, soles bending, stitches pulling apart from years of walking streets instead of sidewalks meant for people with homes. His hair, once military neat, was now tangled from cold nights on park benches. He kept one hand pressed against the inside of his coat, holding something close, hidden from the world. The clerk announced his name with a respectful pause. Michael Turner, U.S. Army veteran. A ripple of attention moved through the room. People who had been distracted, checking phones, waiting for their turn, looked up. Some recognized the kind of weight a veteran carries, the kind that doesn't show in muscles but in the silence behind their eyes. Judge Caprio leaned forward, his gentle expression softening even more. He had seen thousands of people stand before him, but the way Michael entered the room, slow, cautious, almost fragile, told him this wasn't a simple case. Good morning, Michael, the judge said warmly. Take your time. You're safe here. Michael nodded, though his voice trembled when he tried to respond. Good morning, Your Honor. Judge Caprio noticed the strain in his voice, the stiffness in his shoulders. He spoke with the patience of a man who understood that some stories required space to surface. Tell me a little about yourself, Michael. Whatever you're comfortable sharing. Michael's throat tightened, as if answering required pulling words through years of pain. I serve in the Army, he began quietly. 15 years. Iraq, Afghanistan, a lot of places that don't leave your head. He paused. His hand tightened inside his coat. Things were different when I came home. I couldn't fit back into normal life. A soft silence followed. Even the people sitting at the back straightened up, listening now with a respect that came naturally when someone mentioned years of service. What about now? Judge Caprio asked gently. Where are you living? Michael looked down at his boots, avoiding the eyes on him. Wherever I can. Most nights, the streets. Sometimes a shelter if they have room. Those words struck the room with a quiet sadness. Officers exchanged glances. A woman near the back lowered her head. It was one thing to hear about homelessness, another to see the person behind it, trembling in front of a judge's bench. Judge Caprio let out a slow breath, absorbing every detail, not judging, not rushing, just seeing the man for who he was. No one who served this country, should ever be left behind like that, he said softly. Not on my watch. Michael swallowed. Kindness wasn't something he encountered often. It made his eyes glisten, though he quickly tried to hide it. Judge Caprio picked up the citation file. Just a small parking ticket. $90. Insignificant to many. Crushing to someone with nothing. This fine is not your biggest problem, the judge said calmly. And it's clear you've been carrying a lot more than a citation. Michael's breathing grew heavier. He pressed his coat closer. I didn't come because something else happened, sir. I lost something. Something important. I've been searching for weeks. The judge tilted his head slightly. What did you lose? Michael didn't answer. His silence filled the room with more tension than shouting ever could. I'm not here to harm you, Michael, Judge Caprio said. You've already faced enough battles. Whatever you're dealing with, you don't have to hide it from me. Michael looked up for the first time, eyes red, tired, holding back emotions he didn't know how to release. It's all I have left, Your Honor. I can't lose it again. A camera close-up would capture the trembling of his lips, the fear in his eyes, the way his fingers curled protectively around the hidden object inside his coat. Judge Caprio watched him closely, not with suspicion, but with the deep, patient understanding of a man who had spent decades searching for the human being behind every case file. Michael, he said softly, you came here today for more than a ticket. Something brought you into this courtroom, and I'm going to help you, whatever it is. The room fell utterly still. Michael blinked hard, his chest rising and falling as though the truth sat just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And whatever he was hiding under that old army coat, whatever he was protecting with such fear and devotion, was about to change everything. A heavy silence settled over the courtroom as Michael stood there, gripping his coat like a lifeline. It was clear now that he wasn't only here because of a small parking citation. Something deeper, heavier, and far more personal had brought him into Judge Caprio's courtroom that morning. Judge Caprio slowly folded his hands on the bench, studying Michael with the kind of patience that made frightened people breathe easier. Michael, he said kindly, whatever you're carrying, physically or emotionally, you don't have to fear me. Talk to me. Help me understand. Michael darted a glance at the spectators behind him. People were still watching, some leaning forward, some whispering quietly. He looked terrified, not of the judge, not of the case, but of their eyes. Michael hesitated, voice trailing off. I can't talk about it here. Not with everyone looking. Judge Caprio nodded softly. Then we'll take it slowly. You talk when you feel ready. The courtroom remained still, waiting for what would happen next. An officer standing near the door tried to read Michael's posture, half expecting a sudden move, half feeling protective of the veteran. Another officer considered stepping closer, but Judge Caprio gave a gentle wave of his hand, signaling him to stay put. No fear, no pressure, just understanding. Let's go back a bit, the judge said. This lost item, you said it's important. Important enough that you couldn't even focus on this citation? Michael breathed shakily. It's the last thing I have on my daughter. A collective shift passed through the room. Soft gasps, hands lowering from faces, expressions softening. Judge Caprio leaned forward gently. You have a daughter? I had one, Michael corrected softly. His voice broke on the last word. He blinked rapidly, trying to hold himself together. She passed away 3 years ago. Galaxido. She was only 7. The courtroom changed. It wasn't a legal space anymore. It became a place filled with shared human grief. Even the officers, usually rigid, softened their stance. Judge Caprio's voice was warm, almost fatherly. Michael, I'm so deeply sorry. No parent should ever bury their child. Michael nodded faintly, as if the words stirred up memories he wasn't ready to relive. I kept her photo with me always, he continued. No matter where I slept, on benches, under bridges, behind the bus station, I kept it close. It was laminated. I made sure of that. His hand trembled against his coat again. But a few weeks ago, someone stole my bag while I slept. I lost everything I owned in that bag. Clothes, food, money. But that photo, that was my whole world. And you think it's under that coat? The judge asked gently. Michael looked down at the floor. I found something. Something that belongs to her. Or, I think it does. I don't know how to say it. The judge didn't rush him. Not for a second. Instead, he asked, Michael, did you come here today hoping I could help you? That question broke something inside the man. Tears rolled down his cheeks, quietly, almost silently. I didn't know where else to go, Your Honor. I've gone to shelters, police stations, even churches. Everyone said they'd try to help, but no one did. I thought, maybe someone here would listen. Maybe someone wouldn't treat me like I'm crazy. You're not crazy, Judge Caprio said firmly. You're hurting. That's human. Michael wiped his face with the back of his sleeve, nodding slowly. The judge looked around the room, then back at him with a steady, reassuring expression. I'm going to ask you again, Michael, is whatever you're holding under that coat connected to your daughter? Michael hesitated, but then he nodded. The tension thickened. A woman sitting in the front row clasped her hands together, holding her breath. An officer subtly adjusted his stance, ready but not aggressive. The air felt tight, almost fragile. What is it? The judge asked softly. Michael opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked down, overwhelmed. I don't know if I'm ready to show it. People might misunderstand. Judge Caprio shook his head slowly. Not in my courtroom. Here, we listen before we judge. That's my promise. Michael swallowed hard. Okay. But instead of opening the coat, he began explaining. When my daughter, Lily, died, I couldn't handle it. I lost my job, couldn't pay rent. I just fell apart, Your Honor. Everything slipped through my fingers. He took a deep breath. Before she died, she gave me a small wooden box. Said she made it in art class. Inside it was a necklace she made herself. Cheap beads, a string, but she said it was magic. Michael gave a faint, broken smile. She said it would keep me safe while I was sleeping. Judge Caprio's eyes softened, glimmering with empathy. That sounds like a beautiful gift. Michael nodded. It was. And that necklace, it was in the bag that got stolen. I searched every alley, every block, every dumpster, but I never found it. The judge knew the depth of that loss. Losing a child was unbearable. Losing the child's last gift, unimaginable. But 3 nights ago, Michael continued, I found a small wooden box behind the shelter. I swear it looks exactly like hers. Same shape, same little smiley face she drew on the lid. I thought maybe someone found it and left it there. His voice wavered. I've been afraid to open it. The courtroom froze. Judge Caprio took a moment to breathe before responding. Why afraid? Because if it's not hers, Michael whispered, then I've lost her all over again. Silence draped the room like a thick blanket. Every person watching seemed to feel the knot in his throat, the fear in his heart, the pain of clinging to something so fragile. Judge Caprio's voice came out steady, gentle. Michael, is that box under your coat? Michael nodded. And you came here because you didn't know where else to open it. I just needed someone to understand, he said. Someone to tell me it's okay. Someone to tell me. I'm not going crazy for wanting it to be hers. The judge wiped his glasses slowly, a quiet gesture he often made when trying to keep his own emotions steady. You came to the right place, he said softly. You're not alone here. Michael's shoulders trembled. I don't want anyone to think I'm dangerous, he said quickly. I'm not hiding a weapon. I swear. The officers relaxed slightly. Judge Caprio nodded with assurance. I believe you. Michael breathed shakily, gripping his coat tighter. I didn't want anyone to see it until I knew. Until someone like you could tell me I wasn't imagining things. And you think I can help you do that? The judge asked. You're the only one who's talked to me like I'm still human, Michael said. The room fell into a deeper quiet, one that carried the weight of every moment Michael had felt invisible. Judge Caprio leaned forward just a little more, his voice warm as sunlight. Michael, whatever is under that coat, you don't have to carry it alone anymore. Michael looked up, eyes trembling, but finally trusting. And slowly, very slowly, he began to unbutton the coat. The courtroom held its breath. The box. The truth. The past he couldn't let go. Whatever came out next, it would shake the entire room. Michael's fingers shook as he worked through each button of his oversized coat. 1, 2, 3. The room felt suspended in time. No one shifted. No one whispered. It was as if the entire courtroom had breathed in and forgotten how to exhale. Judge Caprio watched him with calm, steady eyes. Not a hint of judgment, only patience and quiet encouragement. "Take your time, Michael," he said softly. "We're all right here with you." Michael nodded, though his hands trembled harder. When the last button came undone, he slipped the coat open just enough to reach inside. His movements were gentle, almost reverent, as though he were handling something sacred. Then he pulled out a small, worn wooden box. The room inhaled sharply. It was old, edges chipped, the paint faded, but on the lid, drawn in a child's hand, was a crooked, smiley face, exactly as he had described. Michael held it close to his chest, eyes shining with fear and hope tangled together. I can't tell if it's really hers," he whispered. "I haven't opened it yet. I couldn't. I didn't want to shatter the last piece of her I might still have." Judge Caprio gently motioned toward the bench. "Come forward, Michael. Let me see." Michael stepped closer, clutching the box as if letting it go might erase his daughter all over again. When he reached the bench, he hesitated, looking at the judge with pleading eyes. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. "If this isn't hers, I don't know if I can handle that." Judge Caprio lowered his voice to a soft, steady rumble, like a father speaking to a son. "Whatever is inside that box, Michael, it won't take your daughter away from you. She lives here." He tapped gently over his own heart. "Nothing inside that box can change the love she gave you." Michael's lips trembled. He looked down at the little wooden box and ran his thumb across the faded, smiley face. "She used to say she made it to protect me," he murmured. "So it was my lucky magic box. Just a child's words, but it meant everything." The judge extended his hands, not grabbing, not demanding, just offering. "If you want, you can open it here. With me." Those words broke whatever fear was still holding Michael back. He nodded slowly. The courtroom leaned forward as Michael set the box gently on the bench. His hands hovered over it for several seconds. Then, finally, he lifted the lid. The hinge creaked softly. Inside the box lay a simple beaded necklace, tiny plastic stars and hearts threaded together with a piece of pink string. The colors were faded, but still bright enough to hold a child's joy. Michael let out a sharp breath, a mixture of relief and heartbreak. "That's it," he choked out. "That's hers. That's Lily's necklace. I'd know it anywhere." His knees buckled, and he caught himself on the edge of the bench. Judge Caprio's eyes glistened as he leaned closer, studying the little necklace with deep respect. "She made this," the judge said warmly. "You kept it safe for her, and somehow it found its way back to you." Michael covered his face with both hands, tears streaming freely now. "I thought I lost her forever," he whispered. "But she came back to me, even after everything." The judge placed a comforting hand over Michael's trembling arm. "She never left you, Michael. Not once. And she never will." The courtroom was silent, every person there witnessing a moment that didn't feel like a legal proceeding at all, but something profoundly human. A reunion, a healing, a broken man finding a piece of his heart again. Judge Caprio took a deep breath, gathering his composure, then spoke with gentle authority. "Michael, what you found today isn't just a necklace. It's a reminder that love doesn't disappear. It may get lost for a while, but it always finds its way home." Michael lowered his hands, eyes red but glowing with hope he hadn't felt in years. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for letting me open it here." Judge Caprio smiled softly, the kind of smile that carried decades of compassion. "You're not alone anymore, Michael. Not in this courtroom. Not in this world." Michael nodded, holding the box close. And for the first time since his daughter's death, he looked like a man who could breathe again. Everything changed after that single, impossible moment in the courtroom. The moment when the truth didn't just appear, it exploded. And as the dust settled, every character who had been drowning in conflict finally had no choice but to face themselves. The judge's gavel echoed once, sharp and final, and suddenly the room wasn't a battlefield anymore. It felt like the breath everyone had been holding for weeks finally, released. No more pretending. No more masks. No more running. For the first time, Maya didn't look like someone lost inside her own story. She wasn't the timid woman who entered this trial terrified of being silenced. She stood taller now, her hands no longer shaking, her voice steady as she exhaled. The truth had found oxygen. It had burned away every lie that once held power over her. Evan, who once walked into this courtroom convinced he could bend reality to his will, didn't look untouchable anymore. His arrogance, his shield, had cracked clean through. All the smirks, the dismissive comments, the confidence that his name alone could save him, it all looked embarrassingly small now. He sat there stunned, as if he still couldn't believe the system had treated him like anyone else. Like the truth mattered more than his father's influence. Like his choices finally followed him home. His father? The man who had spent the entire trial watching from the back, expression unreadable, finally broke the facade. Not with anger, not with outrage, but with disappointment so heavy it felt like it pulled the air out of the room. It wasn't the disappointment of a politician losing reputation. It was the disappointment of a father realizing that protecting his son for years had only ensured he never grew up. That all the shortcuts, all the cover-ups, all that's fine, we'll fix this had led to this exact moment. And Maya saw it. The entire courtroom did. But here's the thing about endings. They're not really about who wins or loses. They're about who changes. And Maya changed. Walking out of that courtroom wasn't just freedom, it was transformation. She wasn't leaving as a victim who had survived something. She was leaving as someone who refused to carry the shame that never belonged to her in the first place. Someone who learned that truth isn't a weapon, it's liberation. It's the one thing nobody can take from you once you decide to claim it. Her sister hugged her outside the doors, squeezing her like she was welcoming her back into her own life. The weight in Maya's chest, the heavy, silent thing that had been crushing her for months, lifted. For the first time, she felt light. Real light. Not fake smiles. Not pretending. Just herself. Evan was escorted out another exit. Reporters swarming, cameras flashing, his world collapsing in front of him. The same spotlight he used to crave now burned him. Because the truth doesn't care about status. It doesn't care about privilege. It doesn't care who your father is. It only cares whether you face it or hide. And Maya? She didn't hide. That was her victory. That was the real ending. She didn't walk away with revenge. She walked away with her voice. With her dignity. With her story finally told the way it deserved to be told. And sometimes, that's the most powerful resolution of all. In the end, Maya didn't just win a case. She reclaimed her life. She didn't walk away trying to be a hero or someone perfect. She walked away as someone real. Someone who finally understood that silence protects no one, and truth, no matter how heavy, is the only thing strong enough to set you free. And now her story lives here, not just as entertainment, not just as drama, but as a reminder to anyone watching. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be believed. You deserve to stand up, even when your voice shakes. Because courage isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It's choosing to fight for yourself when no one else will. So if you've ever felt small, if you've ever been forced into shadows, if someone tried to rewrite your story for their own comfort, let Maya's journey be the proof that you can take it back, that you can stand your ground, that you can walk out of your own courtroom, whatever that looks like, with your head high. And if this story touched you, if you felt connected, seen, or moved even a little, then don't keep it to yourself. Hit subscribe. Share this video. Drop a comment about what part hit you the hardest. Because someone out there might need this story today. Someone might be waiting for the sign, the push, the reminder that they're stronger than their circumstances. And who knows, your engagement might be the thing that helps this story reach them. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying till the end. And remember, your voice matters, your truth matters, and your story isn't over yet.